why $10,000 in crypto altcoins will set you financially free, guys. So when we look at this, I do need to make a few considerations before we jump into the core of the video, and that is I understand that $10,000 is a lot of money to get invested into crypto. Everyone's got rent and mortgages to pay, and it is a lot of money, but I do think that with some consistency and some hard work, $10,000 is realistic for quite a lot of people out there. Again, not everyone, but when we look at that, I do think that that is important to note. And as well as this, I do think that it's not potentially worth getting into Bitcoin and Ethereum for the remainder of the run that a lot of us are waiting for, mainly due to market cap and their potential for return. So when we look at Bitcoin, it's already sitting at 122k, again, recently surpassing its all-time high. Again, as well as this, we're also seeing Ethereum at 4.5k, surpassing its previous all-time high that we saw back in 2022. And we look at the market cap of $500 billion. And we look at this and we just think it's going to be a lot more difficult for you guys to make some serious returns now based on that, purely because of how big the market cap is. I do just quickly need to go over a disclaimer here. Please read this with care. This video is not financial advice. Crypto is volatile and highly risky. No results are guaranteed. This content is for experienced users only, and there's a full legal disclaimer in the description below. I've been in crypto for quite a while now, and seriously since 2021 when my friend told me to buy Cardano. Again, I didn't really know too much about crypto at that time, but he was absolutely right, and I ended up making some paper gains and not having any idea of how to sell and how crypto cycles actually work, and ended up holding the bag all the way down and saw my money essentially evaporate, which was pretty horrible to see. But what I did do, guys, is I learned some lessons from that, and I decided to accumulate a lot of coins all the way throughout the bear market, and now we're starting to see some gains. Again, the same story with Solana. Ended up buying some Solana pretty much at the top and losing money on it, but what I did do is I started to accumulate pretty much throughout the bottom of the bear market again after the FTX collapse, and it's now essentially started to do really well. So when we look at this, guys, crypto is something that can do super well. Let's jump into it, guys. So I wanted to illustrate an example of how well altcoins actually performed last cycle, and here is an example of ADA Cardano. Again, this coin was ranked quite highly back in 2020, and this coin did exceptionally well. We can see here ADA went from $0.027 all the way to $2.90. I believe it's got a bit higher. These are pretty rough, but these are more or less the lows and the highs that we saw back in 2020 and 2021. And we've seen that ADA achieved 107x from this point. So in theory, if you would have put in $1,000, you would have walked away with $107,000, which is absolutely ridiculous. Again, this isn't even mentioning tax, etc. But this is absolutely crazy, and it's showing you the potential that coins had, and even big, fairly well-established coins in crypto at that current period back then. Another example here is Solana, and we can see how well Solana did last run. Solana went from $0.58 all the way to $236, and what we saw there was a 407x, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And when you think about it, if you would have put $1,000 in, you would have walked away with $407,000, which is absolutely nuts. So there's many examples out here, guys. I just wanted to show you the potential for crypto and how well you can potentially do if you are able to get into some of these coins. But the important thing is, guys, we're not trying to get these 100x's. We're not trying to do any of that. If we can get a 10x or a 5x, we're put in a really, really good situation and able to supercharge our gains. So what can we do, guys, in order to try and find these coins? Like, how do we even go about doing that? And I've put together a few criteria here, and it's not all of them, but it's just important to note, in my opinion, when looking out for a few coins. So again, like I mentioned before at the start of the video, understanding market cap influence. When we look at some of these coins here with Bitcoin, if we want Bitcoin's price to double, we need to have another $2.4 trillion to inflow, which is an absolutely unbelievable amount of money. And then when we scroll down here, example like Cardano, again, it's still quite a significant amount of money, but when we have $30 billion here, in order for the price to double, we need another 30 billion to come in, right? So there's a drastic difference here between a $30 billion inflow to come in here when compared to a 2.4 trillion, right? So that's the first point. Next one is understanding the team behind the project, because you want to be able to be in coins where you trust the leaders. What developments have the coins been doing throughout the bear market? So important, because if a coin's not been doing anything, then why would it be able to perform well, right? Why would people want to use a coin which hasn't been doing anything and stagnating? Again, social media attention is really important. How many followers do they have? How much interactions do they actually get? Having money to promote the project is so important, because we've seen the likes of Dog with Hat a year or two ago with the Sphere in Las Vegas. They had the money to promote with, and that massively helped in the price action, right? This is really important, as well as this community. If you have a strong, loyal and dedicated community that really cares about it, this makes a big difference, because these guys are going to be investing in the coin for a long period of time. They'll tell their friends about it, etc. It's so many really positive things. Again, I put another one in here talking about a business making money, because if it's a business making money, they've got more potential to perform well, in my opinion, in the long term, because they're actually doing something which is generating revenue. Then they can reinvest that revenue back in somewhere else. And then I also wanted to make the point that there is an element of luck that comes into it. So you can get all of these right, but if you're essentially a little bit unlucky, then you can't necessarily always do that well. But just thought that was good to show you. So when we look at this, guys, how can we actually go about supercharging our gains? And I want to show you an example of how money flows in crypto and what we can therefore do in order to supercharge it. So first thing to understand is that Bitcoin traditionally always goes first, which is why we've seen Bitcoin reach its all-time high before Ethereum has. Then what happens is people start to take profits from Bitcoin, it then funnels into Ethereum. Ethereum, in theory, starts to surge, people take profits, and then that flows into the large caps, the ADAs, the Solanas, etc. So this is generally what we've seen in all previous cycles, but again, there's no guarantee. And then we've also seen then in other cycles, the money then flows into the lower down altcoins and the meme coins, and we've seen absolutely unbelievable returns. So when we understand this, guys, how can we actually use this to our advantage? And I want to show you that if you're able to take profits as the coin goes up, and you understand how this money flow works, you could potentially take profits from your large caps when they start to go, then funnel them into some other coins which you believe in, that have conviction. Again, they follow some of the criteria belong here, and then you can potentially turn, say you had a 5x on here, you could then turn it into another coin which could potentially do another 5x, right? And this is how you can look to supercharge your gains. So this is really important, guys, because it helps you to put you in the right direction to become financially free. So like many people said, the first 100,000 is the most important, and becoming financially free does depend on many factors, such as, again, your country, your age, your income, but this will set you in the right direction, in my opinion. And I wanted to illustrate an example, which is if you saved $10,000 a year and invested it in the stock market, earning 7% annual return, it would take around about 7.8 years to reach that first milestone, whereas if you're able to put the $10,000 in, you're able to get that 5x, put that into the 50,000, then invest some more into some other coins that haven't potentially gone, or you can continue to go up with the initial coin that you have. You can use that and compound it. So when you get that first 100,000, growing from $100,000 to 200,000 takes around 5.1 years, but from 200k to 300k, it takes only 3.8 years. So again, as we see the money starts to compound, the amount of years in order to make more money starts to decrease, right? So hopefully this has provided you with some value, and thank you very much for watching.